William Hill sponsors Joshua vs Barker live on Sky Sports Box Office.
Three rounds, 3 minutes, 3 fights.
Unbeaten fighters and major performance. I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
Feel it climbing in the air, hear the screams from everywhere. I'm addicted to the thrill.
I'm ready.
It's a dangerous love affair. Can't be scared when it goes down. Got a problem? Tell me now. Only thing that's on my mind is who's gonna run this town tonight.
So welcome everybody to Cassius versus Saunders. Obviously I couldn't beat Billy in the ring, so this was the next best thing, to try and do something with him in front of you people. Billy, welcome to Sheffield, your new home. Is this your new home?
Well, it is, yeah. So I'm up here now, I'm based up here, don't go home. Probably out on a fight, I go back for a week, but I'm solidly based at the Galapad. Yeah. Where it all goes down in the Galapad, you will never know what happens in it. Only us, me, Kel, and Barry. Listen, we have little strays come in, go out, and our own training camp. Dom's looking out the front window, looking, but we're sneaking through the back.
Billy has kindly offered his Lamborghini for an auction tonight. So does anyone want to bid on Billy's brand new yellow Lamborghini?
Yay!
To buy, yeah. Tenner? Anyone else? Sold! Bill, hand him the keys.
Barry's got the keys.
Barry's got the keys.
Barry's got the keys, and if you want him, you have to put your finger in his arse. Barry, sit down tight, mate. Sit down tight.
All the women and children, I'm going to apologise in advance for anything.
Sorry,
Billy
do we have any
says.
matter of fact, we do have a young man here, so...
And there's women in here as well, Bill.
They all love it, look. They love it. They love it, Cook. It's only banner, isn't it? It's bands. Look, they love it as well, look. They all love it, Cook. I shouldn't say that, really, because Coogan's got his girlfriend here.
I have got my girlfriend here.
What? Can we? Listen, there's a pair of gloves here, you and Coogan, if you want it.
Come on, listen, you can have one of them pair of gloves Billy Joe's put on, if you want.
Fucking hell.
So, Bill, let's go back to 2009. You made your debut. Do you remember who you made your debut against?
Yep, Attila Molnard. I can't really say, is it?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah,
that's him.
Yeah. Do you know the reason why I never forgot it?
Go on.
It was my first check.
Your first check?
Yeah.
You've had a 9-year professional career. And why is it only now that people are starting to give you the credit that you really deserve?
Because I've been a lazy bum over the years, haven't I? Listen, I think that, you know, when you've got a certain amount of talent, it gets you so far, and without being, I use the term disrespectful to other fighters who I've boxed, I could have beat them all day long doing what I was doing, but it's only when you step up to a level and you really want to prove you're the best to the elite that you have to do everything absolutely spot on. That's the reason why, obviously, I took myself away from home, put myself up Sheffield. Obviously, got Greg, my nutritionist, and you know, all the boys around me, surround myself with champions, and it just brings that extra bit out on you. So, you know, you got to do something you've never done if you want something that you I've always wanted. And listen, it's sacrifices, but obviously that's the sort of stuff that's got to be made to reach the ultimate top. Because, you know, British, Commonwealth, European is good level, but you know, there's a big step between that and world level, and I needed to do that if I'm ready to mix at the top.
Like you said, you've won Southern Area title, Commonwealth, European, British, world title. If you were to retire tomorrow, would you be pleased with what you've done?
Do you know what? I nearly retired about a year ago. I was ready to, you know, I met up with Frank Warren and I just said, listen, I've had enough now. I'm not in love with it no more. You're going to have getting hurt. I said, you know, I've been very sensible, invested in my money right. So I said, Frank, I don't want to do it for the money. It's not about the money now. It's, you know, I've won every title coming up. I'm unbeaten. He was like, listen, just have another fight, you know, because he obviously just done a deal with BT. I'm the only world champion. So he said, where do you want to meet? I said, well, listen, I said, and I've told you this story in front of Frank, if you remember, and I said, listen, Frank, I said, I'll meet you. He said, where are you now? I said, I don't really want to meet, to be honest, mate, to be fair. I said, I'm done. You're not going to twist my arm. Then he went, well, listen, where are you now? I said, I'm in Hertford. He said, where at? I said, in the pub. So he came to the pub, and my mind was generally made up. I was finished. I thought, I can't be bothered with it no more. It's just hard work. I was a fat slob, 15 stone, but, you know, I had a terrible performance in that December, and I just thought, I thought I haven't got it anymore, myself. I knew one thing I always got is the heart, you know, but I thought, you know, it's just a hard task back. The way I was making weight, and how I was making weight was obviously completely wrong. And, you know, he came back in, and I made my mind up I wasn't going, and he threw a figure out, and I thought, Then I said, listen, no, listen, it's done. And he threw another figure out, then another one. All right, I said, I'm having one more, and that's it. And then, you know, thank God, for whatever reason, I always had Dominic Ingle in my head to train with in the first place before I went with Adam Booth. And, you know, I remember watching Kel once at a press conference, and I thought, fuck me, he's big. I thought, he's fat. And, sorry, Kel. Sorry about that, Kel. He's not fat now, though. Look at him now. So, but, do you know, I looked at it because I thought, he's going through the same pain I'm going through. Like, he's got to starve himself, I've got to starve myself. And I was just like, literally just cutting everything out. And I looked before, and then I see him at a press conference like 6 weeks out or 5 weeks out, whatever it was. I remember seeing him, it must have been on a Matchroom Sky or something, I remember seeing him on. And I looked at him and I thought, oh, he's lost loads of weight. And I looked at myself and I thought, I haven't lost any. And yet I'm starving myself and going all through this. And, you know, when I see him weigh in, and, you know, he looked $1 million, and in one else I just thought, I like to see what Sheffield's saying. And I remember that from my Olympic days when I went to the Beijing Olympics. I was here, so I'm familiar with the area. And, you know, I went up with Dominic Ingle, and Greg, obviously, I put myself on a diet. Greg put me on it, and I've never looked back since. You know, it was probably the easiest I've ever made weight, getting down for a fight. I fell back in love with it, because any fighter I tell you, the worst thing about boxing is making weight. You know, when you got to go, not so much now because I'm on a different diet, but, you know, there's been times before where I've literally gone without food for 2 or 3 days and starved yourself and making weight and been in a sauna for 4 or 5 hours. So all of that part of it, what I hated, got took out, and all the part what I loved was eating food got put in, because Greg was feeding me, and I was thinking, has he done a deal with Frank Warren or something here, not to let me make the weight? Because I was eating like 4 times a day, and big meals, and like all fatty foods, and I was thinking, but it's a special diet he's come up with, and it works wonders. And, you know, the main thing is now I've got all that on track, and I'm loving boxing again. And, you know, as you can see in my last performance, there's nothing else I would love to do apart from box. And if I give it up now, I'll be obviously gutted, because I'm pretty thick at everything else.
You've said on numerous times before that your toughest fight that you've had in your career is John Ryder. Does that still stand?
It do, because I couldn't walk for 3 days after. You know, I made weight terrible because I tell you what happened. I went in for Spike O'Sullivan, who was a good friend of mine, and you know, I trained for 8 weeks and got super fit. And Frank was like, he said, listen, he said, you know, you got to fight John Ryder 8, 9 weeks after, and I went straight back into camp. But when I went back into camp, I was like, because I was already half in shape, I was a bit cheating a little bit. You know what I mean? Like eating rubbish and that, and training hard, and I remember eating a load of food, and in my own head, I could hear John Ryder's head saying like, voice, eat more, like enough to say like you're gonna be a fat cunt. And seriously, yeah. And for the last 3 days, I barely didn't get no food in. I just starved myself, made the weight, and when I got off the scales, I thought, this is going to be an hard night because I knew he was coming. I knew he was coming, and you know, I remember in the 11th round, he hit me at the back of the head, and I thought I just couldn't see nothing for about 45 seconds, literally nothing at all. I just held it on, and when I got out for 3 days after, I just couldn't walk properly. I thought I had sciatica. I was just walking, and I was like getting all. I thought I was a bit punch drunk, to be honest with you. I thought, this is it, this boxing's over now. But, you know, looking back at it, you know, when you move on levels and you see other fighters, you have to do, main thing is the weight. If you don't do the weight right in boxing, then you can lose the fight on the scales. And that night, if anybody was going to beat me at that weight, it would have been him. And he didn't, so.
One of the biggest wake-up calls you said you had in your career is when you defended your WBO middleweight title against Arthur Akavov in Scotland, which you described your performance as shit straight after the fight. But that was a wake-up call for you in your career. It
was because, you know, not one thing went right in that camp, nothing at all. You know, I was out in Spain training and, you know, but I came down, KUGAN, I won the world title, and it was like, I thought, yeah, I'm going to go on a month party up. It was 12 months. It was a year. I was out for a year. Like, just eating shit, really. Just got lazy, and then, you know, when it come back to get on the scales, I jumped on the scales, and, well, to be honest with you, I'm lying to you, because I was scared to jump on the scales back in England. I thought, I'm not getting on these scales till I do 2 or 3 weeks out in Spain. And I did about 2 weeks out in Spain, Marbella. And I jumped on the scales, and I was 15.3, and I thought, fucking hell. I thought, this is it. And to be honest with you, I thought to myself, should I just move up to super middle or something? Come back down, or move up to super middle and have a warm-up fight at light heavy, because I was that heavy. And to be honest with you, I just got that down with grit and determination, because I put in my own head, I thought, if I don't get this weight off in my own head, it means I'm a failure. And that I don't want to fight this fella. Like, the fight's been made, so I have to get this weight off. And I just put the graft in, you know, and got it off. But, again, I remember in the morning of that weigh-in, running on a running machine, I woke up at 6 o'clock. I only had about an hour's sleep because I couldn't sleep properly because I was dry. And I was about 6.5 pounds overweight, but with nothing on me. And I thought, what am I going to do here? And I remember getting on I got up for everybody got up, for my trainer got up, Ben Davison at the time. And I was running on the running machine at 6 o'clock in the hotel. Lost 3 pounds, went back to bed. Then I woke up and told him, he didn't even know I was doing the running before that, yeah? So I just woke up and jumped on the scales. 4 pound or 4.5 pound over. But anyone would tell you making weight, when you were dry and got nothing in you and you've got nothing else to give, that's it. And I had to kill myself. And I remember running again at about 9 o'clock, and Joe Gallagher come, and he were in my ear talking shit. And I was thinking, just go away, mate. I don't want to talk to nobody. I didn't have the energy. And cut a long story short, I made the weight, got it off. But I knew when I come face to face with him, you know, this young Russian, I looked at him and I thought, he's going to give me an hard night, and he did. But not because of he were good or anything, but not really being disrespectful for him. But I don't think he'd go 3 or 4 rounds with me now. But I knew on that particular night that I was in for a rough night. A rough night.
Let's go back to December 2015, where you won the WBO middleweight crown against a very good fighter in Andy Lee, who recently announced his retirement. You dropped him twice in that fight. won on a points win. But what can you say about Andy Lee as well? Because he's been brilliant for the sport, hasn't he?
I think with Andy Lee, you've got to take your hats off because he's travelled all around the world. You know, he's a real tough man. He's strong single-handedly, probably one of the hardest punchers I've been in with. But, you know, he's down to earth. He's real down to earth. I trained alongside of him when I went with Adam Booth for a few months. And he's a genuine bloke. He's a genuine man. So, you know, I'd like to wish him a happy retirement, and I wish him all the success in the rest of his life.
Because it was built up with your traveller backgrounds as kind of...
Old gypsy boys, yeah.
The Battle of
Chuck
the Gypsies.
Yeah. No, do you know what it is? With when me and Andy Lee got made, it was a lot of pressure because, you know, he's from the Irish background of the gypsies and I'm from the English side of it. And, you know, my mates were his mates. And I were getting phone calls, Coog. I were getting phone calls, people saying, yeah, you're going to win. I'm like, I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to get beat. He said, yeah, of course I'm going to win. All right, good, yeah, I've got 20 grand on you with such and such. And they were absolutely millions of pounds betted on that amongst the community itself. And the pressure was on real bad, real bad. I didn't care if I never boxed again. And to be honest with you, I didn't really care that night what happened to anything or anybody, just as long as I won. It was that much pressure. And when I won, obviously, you know, a dream came true, being world champion and beat a good fighter. But, you know, vice versa, the pressure would have been on for him because in our community, that will be talked about when our kids grow up, when their kids grow up, you know, in the pub probably when they're older or whatnot else. That conversation is going to come up. So, pressure was on, but thank God I won. But he's a real tough man as well. Real tough man to go down twice, and he's been down a lot of times in his career and get back up. He's a true fighter.
Let's go back to the year before that. November 2014 is where the rivalry started between you and your friend, Chris Eubank Jr. Looking back on that now, Billy, it seems like one of the best decisions you made was to defend your titles at the time against Chris Eubank Jr. 4 years ago. Would you agree with that?
It was, I suppose it was, but, you know, when I went into... Frank obviously knew that it was going to make big money, and, you know, when I went in, I did a deal with Frank. It was only when I beat him, I went to see Frank, and Frank, oh, yeah, I've got something for you. I said, yeah, 25 grand bonus. I'm thinking, I thought to myself, I should have thought, anyone else would have been, oh, thank you. I thought, yeah, I got robbed. Yeah, I got robbed. I thought, yeah, I've been robbed. But... Listen, I think that back then was a perfect time for me because even though that my training was good, always been good. When I train, I give 100%, but my diet and everything else wasn't. And I'm pleased I got it back then than now, rather, because I really showed people how to beat him. You only need to have a bit of a brain, boxing brain, and a jab to beat him. That's it. You don't need anything else. And I always said to everybody who I talked to, as soon as he boxes someone who can box a little bit, he'd get beat again, very easy. And George Groves just moved his legs, used the jab, and beat him again. He'd never, ever be world champion. And I'm not saying that because I don't like him. I'm just saying that because in boxing, you have to be real to yourself. Like my sons, if they grow up and I don't think they're not good enough, I'm not going to be one of these X Factor mums, where say, or dads, where you're great and get on there and you sound like a dog choking on the ball or something. I'm just going to say, son, listen, you don't cut the gravy. It's hard. You don't need to do it. Yeah, give him a job somewhere to do or do something because it's too hard of a sport. And, you know, the public bought into him because of his dad. You know, he's a decent fighter, but he's only British, European at top, European level. He's not world level.
When you hear Chris Eubank before the Groves fight talk about the fact that he basically trains himself, and even though he's got experienced people like Ronnie Davis in the corner, he puts out the impression that he trains himself. What does that say to you about Chris Eubank Jr.?
Well, listen, I don't care who you are or you're not. Everybody needs a trainer. Everybody needs a team around them. And, you know, a fight's hard enough when a man's v man in the ring, but, you know, it's always that, even if you don't listen to nobody in the corner, it's that pick-me-up. Do you know what I mean? And you need that around you. And when he says that just shows what he knows about boxing. Fuck all. And that's the truth. Seriously, because he don't know nothing. Because you have to have a team around you, and you have to have a trainer around you. You know, you can't go in. That's the reason why, KUGAN. If I want to go into the gym and train every day to punch a bag, I want to hit that bag. My goal is to hit that bag 10 times per second. I can do that. But that don't win you fights. Winning rounds wins you fights, you know. Clever, being crafty in the ring wins you fights. Not, I can punch that bag 1,000,000 times and you can only punch it 200 times. Just don't cut the gravy. And, you know, it showed at the elite level. And it'll always show at elite level.
Do you think that a rematch between you and Chris Eubank Jr., because as fans, I'm sure we'd like to see that fight again. You don't need to fight him because you've already beaten him, but is that a fight that we will see again?
Bring him here tonight, and we'll do it tonight. They can see it in this ring. Now look, I think boxing's a business. And would I like his business? Yes. Do I need it? No. You know, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. Because I know every single night he goes to bed thinking about when I beat him. Every night. I don't. I go to bed every night thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow and, you know, yeah. That's about it. Yeah, brass house. That's about it. I'm only joking, really. I don't really like no brass houses here. Not that I've been into any. Do you know what I'm saying? My dietitian Greg loves the brasses, didn't he, Greg? Ooh. Sometimes Greg comes in. Sometimes... Greg, stand up for a minute. This is the nutritionist Greg. Stand up, Greg. Greg. Hey! Sit down now, Greg. No, you know, he just don't cut the gravy.
Right. I want to talk about September 2017. Willie Monroe Jr. Now, I don't want to talk about the fight.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your son punching Willie Monroe Jr. in the bollocks at the weigh-in.
Yeah.
And hold on. Did you, tell us the truth, did you tell your boy to do that?
Right. Listen.
Don't answer it now. Did you tell the truth? Did you tell him to do that?
Just listen. All right, I'm going to lie to you all and say yeah. KUGAN, listen. In boxing, mind games wins fights. Mind games. That's the. Listen, you have to be you have to be the first round up with mind games in boxing. In any, you have to win that. And I knew they came over here looking a bit. You know, thinking that the men, they're coming over here and, you know, coming into our gym in London and trying to strut the stuff. But I was in there on my own. And when I see in his eye, when I walked up to his old team, his full team, and got into their face and did what else and knocked their hat off. And one took my hat, but I went there and got my hat back. He took something of mine. I went to him myself and took it back. And when I see that, I looked in his eye and I thought, you shitbag. Because if he'd have done that to me, I'd have had a fight with him there and then. It would have been on. 100%, 1,000,000%, and I looked in his eye, I knew he was a beat man, and in the ring I was looking at him and I'm thinking, all right, two southpaws boxing is a clash of styles, and when I was boxing him I'm thinking, I'm winning every round here, you're fighting for a world title and you're not even trying, so I knew he was beat, so I just took that really, but no, I didn't, no, didn't tell him. Yeah.
Yeah. December 2017, sorry. You went out to Canada and gave David Lemieux a boxing lesson.
Yeah, a bit of a pasting, yeah.
One of the best, I'm sure everyone will agree, it's one of the best away performances by a British boxer that we've ever seen.
Look, KUGAN, see, this is the thing, you know, with me, is that when I'm up against it, and I know I'm up against it, I know that I'll bring more out. And the funny thing is, as when that final bell rang, I thought to myself, I could do better than that. But leading up to that fight, I was sitting in the hotel room and I was thinking, right, I've talked shit all my career. Give it the big un. all the time about telling people what I do, F this and F that, and I thought, now it's crunch time. Now let's see, you're in Canada with a big puncher and a big name, a big, HBO star. Let's see what you are made of. And I was, I thought I was going off my head because I was saying this in my own head, and I was sort of like gearing myself up. And I led down, and my little boy was led down with me. So I'm led down, I was just thinking, I looked at her, I thought, I could get knocked out cold here as well. So I looked at him, I said, Steve, I said, what would you do, I said, if I got knocked out? He said, I wouldn't love you no more. Yeah, and that's what he said. And I swear to God, that's what he said to me. He said, I wouldn't love you no more. I said, yeah. I said, but obviously you know that's not the case. I said, obviously I'm going to beat him. And then when he said that, I thought, oh, fucking hell, that's a bit steep. Do you know what I mean? That's a bit... And he was saying to me, yeah, but listen, when you fight Golovkin... He was saying, when you fight Golovkin, because all his uncles and his cousins wind him up saying, oh, yeah, your dad ain't no good to Golovkin. He bites. They wind him up. And he's got it in his head. He wants me to fight him. So when he said that, I thought, all right, that's a bit harsh. I thought, you don't love me no more if I get beat. But anyway, so I sat down and I got it in my head, right, this has to be the performance of my life. I thought, I have to go in there and do what I need to do. But there was no pressure on me, There was no pressure on me because I thought, it's his crowd. They're paying me to come over here, and what have I got to lose? Nothing at all. But I have nothing to lose because I know if I'm not good enough to beat David Lemieux, I'm not good enough to be the best in the world. And, just as I was getting showered, I got showered, get ready, and my little boy looked at me and said, Dad, we're ready to go and give this old boy an hiding then, are we? I said, yeah. And that's the words he said. I said, yeah. I said, let's go. And we walked down. As soon as I walked out of the hotel room, I knew what was coming. I knew what I was going to do. I just knew what was going to happen. People who fight me seem to think that they can walk me down, put the pressure in, and go throwing punches and wait till I tire. But what they don't realise is people's tried that many times when I haven't eaten properly for a week. So when I'm eating up strong, healthy, fit, the fittest I've ever felt, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So, I knew his style wouldn't bother me that much.
We know you've got a fight coming up April 14th at the O2 against Martin Murray. We also know that you'll be looking to the winner of Canelo and Golovkin. Now, we just did a little interview back there. For you hope...
Listen, listen, at the end of the day... It's get in the queue and I've got to be behind Ryan. I'm waiting behind Ryan, so...
All right. You're behind Liam Smith as well. You're behind Liam Smith as well.
Well, his letter ain't gone to the board. It's gone to the local drug dealer in Mexico. It's gone to the farm. It's gone to the steroid farm in Mexico.
Phil, let's just first of all talk about, obviously, Canelo testing positive for clenbuterol. The fight's still going ahead. What are your thoughts on this, first of all?
Look, listen, in boxing, no matter if I like them or not, it's a hard sport. Everyone puts their life on the line. As we've seen a lot of upsets in boxing, and it's a sad sport. One most recently as well. And you can only look at people like that and think scumbag, because whether you're taking something to chuck weight off, to put muscle on, you're still fast tracking that. That other man's there. It should be man v man. Go away and do your own thing. Train how you want to train. But when you start taking performance enhanced drugs, it's just completely out the window. Because rest in peace as well to him. People like that bring shame on the sport, and the superstar he is brings even more shame because everybody knows him, and then when it's put in the paper that he's doing that, and put on social media that he's doing that, you've got these young up and coming fighters that probably might look at that, and probably out of 10, one of them might think, oh well, he did it, I do it. If it's going to get me where he is, I do it. Well, it's not the case, It's I find it disgusting, really.
You said to me earlier you hope Golovkin knocks Canelo out cold.
For the reason being, of that. You know, I hope that, you know, he's trying to give himself every bit of edge he can, where he could have done it in other ways instead of taking, you know, drugs. You know, I personally do hope that Golovkin knocks him out cold, because I know already that Canelo's people's already told Frank Warren on a personal note and my lawyer that I'm not really, my style don't suit him. That's the words what was said. So I know that fight will never get made. But Golovkin, I know he's a warrior, he's a true champion, and 1,000,000% that fight will 100% get made. So I hope he wins.
I want to talk about now your switch to Sheffield. The Ingle Gym are actually here. They haven't paid for their table, but they're here.
Actually, you want to check the bloke Killer's at the back, his pockets, because he has got the cutlery in his pockets and the plates. And I did see him bagging up some treats earlier on the take home.
Can I just say as well, we've actually got, fresh from his brilliant win against Rabchenko last week,
Woo!
the special one, Kel Brook in the house.
Go on, Kel.
And also, Kid Galahad in the house as well from his win last week as well. You seemed more settled now in your career, and you seem like you're enjoying your boxing again. Is that fair to say?
I just met some hooligans on the same level as me, innit? That's all. That's all it is. We're all on the same wavelength. Listen, I think that, you know, it's weird because, let me tell you, it all kicked off in Sheffield for me. You know, it all kicked off, and I was thinking about this yesterday, funny enough. It all kicked off yesterday, and I was, you know, well, it kicked off in Wade yesterday thinking this, actually, and I was thinking, it's weird because I was never supposed to go to the 2008 Olympics. You know, I was meant for 2012, but, you know, I had a kid on the way, and I thought, I've got no choice but to try and get there as hard as I can. And I put everything I did into it, and I actually got there, and, you know, it all took off from there, and then I ended up back here at the back end of my career, really, because, listen, I'm 28 now, world champion. I always said that when I'm 30, I'm done. So, you know, it is the back end of my career, and I'm back in Sheffield now. So, it's weird, isn't it? Like, it all started, and now I'm here now, ready for the, you know, hopefully, please God, gears up to one of the, you know, the biggest fights and in middleweight division. So, it's all back in Sheffield. Sheffield's the place for me, 100%.
Obviously, again, you're facing Martin Murray on April the 14th. If I could say to you, after Martin Murray, you can pick your next 3 fights. Who do you pick?
Golovkin, you know, George Groves, and whoever else. Who else? You name one. I'll let you name one. Who do you want?
You bang.
You bang. Yeah, do you know, listen, the way I look at it is just that I'll only do the fight of him for the press conference to wind him up and give the public to get back from work and watch something up. Do you know what I mean? Because I know how easy I'll make that fight now. I know how easy it could be in the ring. I beat him as easy as I did David Lemieux, if not easier, because I won't be worried about his power. So probably, yeah, so there you go. Golovkin, Groves, and Groves is a friend of mine, but it's good business for both, and you bang them, no problem.
Kugan, can you just give us one more question? I'm going to open it up, so I have, I think, some questions for either Billy or Kugan. So if you just give us one more, Cougs, please.
That means hurry up, Kugan, you're boring.
You're the one
Very
talking.
polite.
That means Kugan. That means Kugan, you're longing it out. What are you doing?
That's not even your belt, is it?
What are you doing?
Is that your belt?
What, no.
No.
Ryan, sort him out, please.
No, you can take it away. You can take it away with the questions for Billy Joe.
Unbeaten fighters and major performers. I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
William Hill sponsors Joshua versus Barker live on Sky Sports Box Office.